As I read the Book of Mormon each day for guidance on how to live as Jesus wants me to, I'm constantly surprised by ideas and truths that jump off the pages. These discoveries cause my perceptions to gradually change. Things that seemed concrete to me before now don't fit into what I'm beginning to understand about Christ's gospel. These are like puzzle pieces that the Lord gives me one at a time that start to give shape to the larger meaning of his teachings. One such discovery occurred to me this week while reading the war chapters in Alma. When I was younger, the war chapters were my favorite part of the scriptures. As a kid, I was obsessed with guns and hunting. I got my first BB gun around age 8, and it was my prized possession. I spent countless hours roaming our farm, shooting anything I could see. Around age 13, I graduated to a 20-gauge shotgun, the true love of my teenage years. I shot so many birds and animals, there's no way to count them all. And during that time, I clearly remember sitting in young men's class one Sunday as the teacher taught us about the law of consecration, and that someday we would have to give all our possessions to the church. I think I had a mini faith crisis right then, because I just couldn't see how God would want to separate me from my beloved shotgun. With adulthood and new responsibilities and cares, my obsession with hunting and guns eventually subsided, but I still own a large number of guns and weapons that I look at fondly. Through the years, reading about Captain Moroni always stirred my soul. As a missionary and college student, he was my hero. It was interesting to imagine the weapons and armor he made, to think about the fortresses and the strategies he used, and how he won in battles against huge odds. I often wondered how it would be to have him for a leader, someone courageous and bold and selfless. I came to believe strongly in self-defense, in standing up against oppression and fighting for liberty. As recently as the COVID lockdowns, I remember turning to a friend at church and asking, where is the modern Moroni to stand up against tyranny today? And yet, while reading again through the war chapters a few days ago, I was struck by something I had never noticed before. It's in Paharan's letter to Moroni, when he says in Alma 61, "And now behold, we will resist wickedness, even unto bloodshed. We would not shed the blood of the Lamanites if they would stay in their own land. We would not shed the blood of our brethren if they would not rise up in rebellion and take the sword against us. We would subject ourselves to the yoke of bondage if it were requisite with the justice of God, or if he should command us so to do. But behold, he doth not command us that we should subject ourselves to our enemies, but that we should put our trust in him, and he will deliver us. Therefore, my beloved brother Moroni, let us resist evil. And whatsoever evil we cannot resist with our words, yea, such as rebellions and dissensions, let us resist them with our swords." I nodded my head along with his reasoning as I read this, that they wouldn't fight except for in defense, and that the Lord hadn't told them not to fight, until I got to the phrase, resist evil. It triggered my memory that Jesus had used the exact phrase when he visited the Nephites. So I did a search. At the time, I was on LDS.org's scripture app on my phone, and the search didn't turn up the scripture I was looking for, but I was convinced I had read it recently. So I opened up Gutenberg copy of the Book of Mormon on my computer, and bam, there it was, right in 3 Nephi 12. Jesus taught, "And behold, it is written, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, that ye shall not resist evil. But whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn him the other also. And behold, it is written also, that thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, pray for them who despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father who is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good. Therefore, those things which were of old time, which were under the law, in me are all fulfilled." I was fascinated that the exact phrase Paharan used, Jesus answered with his own better phrase in his new and everlasting gospel. To me, it's these kind of little connections and foreshadowings that give so much richness and depth to the Book of Mormon. As someone who loves to read and to write, I've never seen another book with such hidden connections and consistencies and intricacies as I find daily in the Book of Mormon. It's been several months since I first made my video about the hinge point of Jesus' atonement and resurrection. At the time I made that video, the concept of there having been a hinge point was new to me, and I was just feeling it out. Since then, I've watched for it constantly as I read the scriptures, and it has been confirmed to me over and over again. And reading about this phrase, resist evil, was just another confirmation. Jesus really did come with a new and revolutionary gospel that changed everything, which from then on was to be everlasting for those who wish to follow him. As far as I can tell, it seems that under the law of Moses and the commandments the Lord had given to Lehi and his posterity up until his coming, God allowed for an eye for an eye culture, where righteous people could take up their swords and fight against aggressors. But Jesus also knew and forewarned his prophets that there would come a time when he personally would come to earth and give the world a new and a better way, a higher way. As Nephi prophesied in 2 Nephi 32, when Jesus shall manifest himself unto you in the flesh, the things which he shall say unto you shall ye observe to do. And Jesus did manifest himself to them, and he gave us a new and a higher law. Again, his words were, but I say unto you that ye shall not resist evil. Not only did he tell us this new law, but he showed it in action. In the Garden of Gethsemane, when the Jews came to arrest him, Jesus didn't resist or fight back. As Matthew records in chapter 26, and behold, one of them which were with Jesus stretched out his hand and drew his sword, and struck a servant of the high priest's, and smote off his ear. Then said Jesus unto him, Put up again thy sword unto his place, for all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. Thinkest thou that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? Jesus could have fought back with legions of angels, but instead, he healed the ear of the servant. His new gospel was all about healing, about serving, about blessing, about doing to others the things we would want done to us. And it seems like these are the things he wants us to try to do. He said in 3 Nephi 27, The works which ye have seen me do, that shall ye also do. For that which ye have seen me do, even that shall ye do. Therefore, if ye do these things, blessed are ye, for ye shall be lifted up at the last day. I read about peoples who live this way. Alma and those who believed in the words of Abinadi lived in this way in the valley of Helam. When the Lamanites invaded their peaceful valley, they didn't resist, they didn't fight back. They went unarmed to meet the Lamanites. In Mosiah 23 it says, And it came to pass that the Lord did soften the hearts of the Lamanites, and Alma and his brethren went forth and delivered themselves up into their hands. And the Lamanites took possession of the land of Helam. In time, the Lord himself delivered them without a fight. In Mosiah 24, And it came to pass that so great was their faith and their patience, that the voice of the Lord came unto them again, saying, Be of good comfort, for on the morrow I will deliver you out of bondage. And in the morning the Lord caused a deep sleep to come upon the Lamanites, yea, and all their taskmasters were in a profound sleep. And Alma and his people departed into the wilderness. The anti-Nephi Lehites also buried their weapons of war, and they did not resist their evil brethren. In Alma it says, Now when the people saw that they were coming against them, they went out to meet them, and they prostrated themselves before them to the earth, and began to call on the name of the Lord. And thus they were in this attitude when the Lamanites began to fall upon them, and began to slay them with the sword. And it came to pass that the people of God were joined that day by more than the number who had been slain. And those who had been slain were righteous people. Therefore, we have no reason to doubt but what they were saved. Many of them were indeed killed by these wicked people, but many more were saved because of their covenant of peace. And in 4 Nephi, after Jesus had visited them and taught them his new gospel of peace, it says, The people were all converted unto the Lord upon all the face of the land, both Nephites and Lamanites, and there were no contentions and disputations among them, and every man did deal justly one with another. These are pretty amazing stories. But does the Lord expect this of me? And is this even possible in today's world? I have to admit, I was a little disappointed when I discovered the connection with the phrases in Alma about resisting evil and Jesus' teaching about not resisting evil. My whole life, I've been taught the doctrines of self-defense, self-reliance, self-sufficiency, and I've been happy to rely on my own arm, my guns, my substantial food storage, my investments, and my savings. It's a huge mental shift for me to start wondering if the Lord wants me to rely more on him and to be willing to endure suffering and difficulty, to not resist evil in order to show Christ-like love for other human beings. But the more I come to understand the Scriptures, the more I see Christ's way as one of complete trust, faith, and perfect love for others. Can I pray for my enemies? Can I not fight back when someone offends me or tries to hurt me or my loved ones? Can I stop holding grudges and forgive? It all seems like a difficult cross for me to bear. and I'm not exactly sure where to start or what it all means. But it also feels right to start to make a mental shift, to put my trust in the Lord, and to not resist evil.